Hello there, welcome back to Queen's English, where we learn to speak like the Queen with your host, Squire Amir. Have you ever thought about how you can improve your English spelling? It's actually not as difficult as one might think. You may think that you can't spell and you will never learn to spell, but actually there is an easy way. So I'm here to teach you this today, and if you do what I'm going to teach you very quickly, your English spelling should see wonders. So rule number one, in the beginning, don't worry about how you spell. Just learn to write. When you first learned to speak, you just spoke. You weren't worried so much about grammar, and your grammar came slowly as you perfected your nouns and verbs, and then your grammar patterns fell into place. Likewise, when you write, just write. Whether you make mistakes, whether you don't know how to spell a word, just keep writing. Now, once you've done that, there are two things that you can do. Number one, you can, if you're using Microsoft Word, you can type the whole document into Microsoft Word. Type it into Microsoft Word, and there is a spell checker. You know, in Microsoft Word, every word that's wrong has a red line under it. You can see that there's a mistake there. So you can right click and it will give you some options and you can correct your mistakes. That's the first thing you can do. Make a note of how you made the mistake wrong, why it was wrong, and how to correct it. Number two, keep writing on paper as you want, and once a week, get somebody to check your work. Somebody whose English is good, your teacher or a native English speaker. Get them to check your work and highlight any mistakes you've made, and they can correct your mistakes. So then on a piece of paper, have a piece of paper, on one side write down the mistakes you made and then the corrections, and try to write them again and again until you've mastered them. But that's not all. Once a week, go back to that paper and check again and again to see if you can still spell correctly. Very soon, your piece of paper will become a book and you'll have hundreds of words there that in the beginning you couldn't spell, but eventually you'll find you'll be able to spell all of them. So there's a little exercise I want to do now where we're going to read a small passage, a paragraph or two, and there are 5 mistakes in this paragraph. So I want you to read with me and then stop the video, see if you can find the mistakes, and then we'll go through the corrections together. Okay, so I'm going to read now. The mice once called a meeting to decide on a plan to free themselves of their enemy, the cat. At least they wished to find some way of knowing when she was coming, so they might have time to run away. Indeed, something had to be done, for they lived in such constant fear of her claws that they hardly dared stir from their dens by night or day. Right, let's have a look at the mistakes now. So these were the mistakes. The first mistake is the ones highlighted in red, right? So the mice called, no, that's incorrect. The mice once called a meeting to decide. Decide is spelt with a C, D-E-C-I-D-E, not S. Many people make this mistake. Then we have on the third line, the last word, some way of knowing. Many people make this mistake. To know something is with a K. There's a silent K, K-N-O-W, knowing. Then we have constant fear. Constant fear. Did you get that mistake or was that correct? That they hardly dared stir, to move. Stirring is to move. They hardly dared stir from their dens by night or day. Right, so if you made any mistakes here, if you made any of these mistakes, then write it down in a piece of paper and then write the correct mistakes, correct them and write them a few times, like 5 times each. Each word you made a mistake, write it down 5 times each. And then a few days later or a week later, check again to see if you can spell them. And that's the way you shall perfect your spelling. So, once again, find your mistakes. Get a separate book and record those spelling mistakes. Write them down 5 or 10 times each. Once a week, gather all those mistakes and have somebody test you. Give yourself an exam. Have somebody read those words and you write them down. Okay? So hopefully, the next time I see you, you shall be a master of the English language. See you again.